Great. I saw the link. It's live, so that's good. Is there a little delay on the live? I'm not sure.
No, I can see on LinkedIn, we're also live. There's about 8 people. There's a little bit delay.
Oh, okay. I can't see how many people there are on my end here though. Oh, there's 7 people. Cool. That's good.
Cool. I think there's gonna be more people joining. It usually is like this. So yeah, we can kickstart, Ray, maybe. Uh, Again, I wanted to apologize, Ray. Really, we had a little bit of technical issues. Both our first time using LinkedIn Live. We thought you can just click the button live, but you actually have to go through a third party. So it's good news. We finally figured it out. So we're using StreamYard. Um, yeah, maybe I'll kickstart, right? So the session is we scheduled about 45 minutes. It's a little bit of kind of meet and greet session. I think Ray is going to be the moderator, ask me a few questions. And it's usually about kind of the book inspiration and maybe some of the stories, the fun stories that they could share. At the end of it, whoever's joined, we will be able to see your information on the back end. And like I mentioned, we will be sending out a promotion link later on. Yeah, and then we are gonna split the session with a little bit introduction. Ray's gonna ask me a few questions. Then later on, we can open to kind of the audience. If you have questions, you can type into us in the comment section. We'll leave about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll end maybe at 11:30 if that's okay with Ray. Yeah.
Right, sure.
Cool.
Nice. Thanks, Jerry, for having me. Yeah, it's awesome. So how should we start? Like, we're just gonna jump on in with a quick introduction of Jerry. So like I think we've caught up a couple of weeks back and just to chit chat about TA work and startups, and of course Jerry shared this exciting venture that he had to launch this TA strategy book called Scale Up. He's also got an awesome newsletter which he interviewed TA and HR leaders globally to gather their thoughts and just discuss about things. So yeah, I think this session today is going to be really engaging and fruitful. We'll kind of keep it a bit casual to just get to know Jerry, to hear some of his inspiration and lessons throughout his exciting TA career, and of course for you guys to get to know him a bit better as well towards the end with some Q&A. So yeah, let's just start off with Jerry. I've got some time to read your book. I haven't finished it, so don't bash me. I've just gotten time to read the first few chapters, which I think it's really exciting to also hear things about startup work, recruitment, TA strategy within Scale Ups. I think it really resonates with the things that I've been doing over the past 5 years. So just really curious, what is the inspiration for you to start this book?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I'm not trying to be a bestseller. It's not my intention. Yeah, I really, I've been wanting to do this, to be honest, for a couple of years already. But I think finally, recently I've been impacted by the tech layoffs, and I got the time, and I find it's probably a good timing as well to sit down, organize your thoughts about my past kind of 12, 13 years, and really put something tangible on the table. So that's kind of just a little brief start of this idea, right? But on the personal side of things, I think so. I was a communications major in college, and then I took a few journalism classes. So so I got a little bit of that training supposedly. And then obviously, being in recruiting for a very long time, that there's a lot of similarities when, especially with my format of the book, that I get to interview people. As a recruiter, you have to write, thousands of words about the candidate background. Especially at Amazon, it's huge on writing. So I felt like I was able to utilize all those skills and really put together this book. The topic itself, right, is very much connected to my own personal experiences, and I've been finding that startup world is very exciting, right? Like the book mentioned, but at the same time, it's also challenging, and one of the big challenges is on the people and organization side. And I find that, through my own experiences and been talking to some of my guests as well, there is a gap, right, between, generally like people's emphasis on the people side of things, because startups, you have so many things to juggle around, right? Your go-to-market strategies, your sales are definitely your top priority, right? Because that's your survival. On the back of it is that the people and organizational side of things usually have a long-term and a more sustainable impact. So, sometimes even though, it might be not on your top of mind, whether you're a business leader or the founder of the company, but if you are not paying enough attention, it will backfire, right? It will later on, it will create drastic, negative influences and bad impact to it. So this is also like a book, I guess, to the community, to the startup VC community, share some of the stories, insights. Hopefully, whoever gets hold of it can get something out of it. Yeah.
Right. Nice. So like any kind of lessons that you've learned throughout, writing the book, or even like just thinking back, or generating some ideas, any lessons that you derive from there?
Yeah, so I think the number one lesson is I'm a self-publisher. I did not use any publishing company this time. So all this editing, and then you can see my newsletter. I created this video series, all those video softwares. All this. I'm preparing an audio book as well. So like recording my sound and everything. So it's all done by myself, right? Although, like I mentioned, I have a little bit of background, with my university times. But those softwares, right? These days there are a lot of exciting softwares. But I use, so I get to really learn how to use them, right? And then my best friends are something like Canva, Figma. I know probably some of you are familiar with as well. ChatGPT. Mid-Journey, yeah. So Audible. So those are, I think, really from scratch. I got to learn to use a really exciting software, right? And it saves people so much trouble. I think with AI, and on the other side, on another note of this, I'm really looking forward to the development of these softwares, how it could really disrupt the creative field. Um, but besides that, right, I think for me as a writer, the very important thing is to establish a routine. And I think, so probably you've seen on TV, or I don't know, you've heard of it. So there are writers that is, they wake up at night and then, that creativity, that juice came in, they're gonna like start writing, or there's sometimes they're just really stuck, right? What you might heard of the writers, whatever they call it, like bottleneck or whatever, that they just couldn't produce anything. For me, I try to find a balance. So I just set like 1 hour per day a time, because obviously with writing with like 150 plus pages, those kind of book, you cannot finish in a short weeks or months, right? It's a, you have to do it little by bit, So I try to just establish a routine, like for me is my yoga journey because I'm trained as a Ashtangi. So we have to wake up every day before the sunrise, which is about 5:30 a.m. And I have been doing this for the past 15 years. So that's a bit easy for me because I'm a very disciplined in that way. And I find myself most creative is after my Ashtanga practice. And Ashtanga practice is also a practice if you're familiar with it's a same set of sequence that you just have to practice every day. It's the same postures. It's not the other things. There's no variations. You're just sticking to the same old thing. But the magic thing is that every time that you get onto the mat, you practice it, even though it's the same postures, you have a different experience because your mood today is a little bit different. The weather is a little bit different. You know, you wake up, the climate is a little bit different. So you begin noticing all the small differences, right? And then when they translate into the writing side of things, so I set up this 1 hour, and I have a standing desk, so I typically stand in front of my desk, and I just commit to it. I turn off my phone, and there are sometimes yes I have like so much to write about, but I still stop. Like at the end of that an hour, I like I'm discipline myself to stop. Or sometimes that I just I got nothing to write about. I'm so dried up, but I will still be there and then just to write in some nonsense, juggle down my thoughts. I think this really helped me. It's just that routine that it trained your brain and your body to be unconsciously or just accustomed to this, right? It's part of your life. And then, at that timing, when the time comes, that your body immediately reacts to it. So it's a little bit like my yoga practice. When the time, so obviously in the first few, I don't know. I mean, now it's a long time ago. In the first few weeks or months, right, where I have to get up before the sunrise, it's impossible. But once you get into that routine, like every day, your body just automatically wakes up. Your biological clock is just, hey, the sun is up, you're up, you're gonna practice Ashtanga. So for me, it's like that. And then another, probably the biggest lesson I've learned is I really wish I could have done this sooner. And then I really, this session as well included is kind of my piece of advice for, whoever is whether it's a book or just something you're thinking of creating or like a side hustle or like a hobby project you're passionate about, right? Don't let kind of like, hey, I don't have the time, I got a day job. Don't let all I find it's all excuses, to be honest, at the end of the day. Because if you really have your if you're really passionate about it, right, first of all, and then you really set up your mind to it, it's just an hour a day. You can commit to it, and then it gradually accumulate, right? So I think this book, sort of the crystallization of this, it also, it's not like instant, right? I've been trying to do this for a while. I started with a newsletter. I've been started writing like a not very routine schedule, just here and there, just ad hoc kind of things. But then when it comes to formalizing it into a book, it finally all came together, right? I was able to utilize all those materials as well. So that's kind of my advice, right? And my biggest takeaway is for whoever is interested to start like a side hustle, just doing it. Yeah, just start doing it before you're questioning, oh my God, is the book gonna sell? Is everybody's gonna, yeah, watch me? Am I gonna be like the subscribers? To be honest, who cares, right? Because you're just doing it. You're doing it for yourself in the end, right? So I think that's my biggest takeaway. And then really, I think throughout this journey, right, that you get to learn so many things. Because you're first of all you're creating something, right? So now I can 100% tell you I am I would say from a scale of 10 I would rate myself as 2 or 3 of an Amazon expert because previously, I was in the recruiting team for Amazon Web Services, not on the e-commerce side, but now I'm self-published in Amazon. That I became an expert to know how do I make money out of Amazon. Affiliate programs. How does that work? How to run promotions, and then how to use all those softwares, right? Like the video softwares, all that. Yeah, so it's a great learning experiences as well. I feel like like these kind of things, not necessarily it's commercial purpose, right? It's a chance for you to upskill yourself, and then in this climate, to be honest, right? Who knows? Our job might be taken by AI very soon, or we gotta learn new skills to keep up, right? So I think for whoever, don't be content. That's my advice. Don't be content. Don't think, oh, I'm comfortable right now, I don't need to learn, I don't need to start like a side hustle. I My advice is, if you have a passion, if you're interested about it, just do it. Yeah.
Right. Really exciting, Jerry, because like I think I can definitely relate to some of the points that you have said there. Like I think we've just putting in self-discipline for writing, for lots of things in life. I think yoga definitely helped. And also in terms of just building different kinds of skill sets as a recruiter, go-to-market recruiting definitely kind of exposed us to a lot of different facets in the business, marketing, design, creative stuff. What's the inspiration behind designing your own cover? Is it from the years of recruiting for commercial teams that kind of also help you build that kind of creative lens?
Yes. So when I was I was a corporate recruiter, but I was also a startup recruiter. And then Ray would know, right? Startup recruiter, you have to do everything. You're not just like a typically closing the rack. You got to do employer branding. You're gonna do technology. You're gonna do a bunch of those things, right? And normally, like, I mean, yes, you can ask for the marketing team for help, but then they're also busy. So sometimes you just gotta create your own things, right? So that definitely helped, I think, from my past experiences. But the idea behind this, kind of the design of the book, right, is also, it's also not random. Some people might think it's random, but it's also actually not random. It's also a little bit of personal in that sense. So as you know, I mentioned, like, I'm a yogi, right? And then if some of you practice yoga, you would know there are 7 chakras. So the chakras means energy points inside our body. And the third chakra, which is called the Manipura chakra, it's located in our solar plexus system. And the color of the chakra is yellow. And that chakra is a representation of just transformation, inner wisdom, power, right? So that's really, I felt like I wanted this book to be kind of a powerful tool or transformational kind of inspiration for whoever gets hold of it when you're rethinking about your talent strategies. And I format it in that way is that it's a little bit like a book essay, right? So you can jump into the chapter to say, so there's a chapter about pre-IPO, there's a chapter about going bankrupt, there's a chapter about talent acquisition. So it depends on the stage you are, right? You can jump into it, and then hopefully you can take away something out of it, right? Because it is through this 124 interviews I've done with not just HR leaders, right? HR leaders part of it, but also the founders, venture capitalists, and then there's a continuous video series that I'm publishing it bi-weekly, that you would see more and more of their interviews. Yeah, so that is a little bit of the inspiration of the design, the choice of the color. Yeah.
Right, interesting. And also, like you mentioned, there are newsletters, there are video series that you created. So, would you be able to share like some fun stories behind creating all these video series?
Yes. So it is again a little bit like a recruiter's job, right? So so this entire idea, I was a little bit inspired by the LinkedIn CEO Ryan Roslansky. He had this video series called The Path. I watched it. I thought it was really good. And one of the video, if you have seen, it's from this black female CEO lady called Saint. She was running AT&T. That struck me the most. She turned down 4 promotions throughout her years. That was, I think, in the 60s or 70s in the United States. It's a very taboo thing to be a female, to be a colored leader, right, in that space. So people were asking her to change her name in order to get promoted. And then she was really, just refused it because she needs to be herself, right? So those were really inspirational. And then I think, whatever the purpose of Brian is doing this, part of it probably commercial, but part of it is also inspirational, right? To inspire more people in this world. And then I just find like, hey, we got tons of inspirational leaders not in North America. Unfortunately, all his guests is in North America, is American. And then, what about the rest of the world, right? So that was kind of the inspiration behind this. And then when obviously, being in kind of in the recruiting industry for a long time, I was fortunate to accumulate that huge network, right? Whether they were candidates or some other ways that I got to know them. So I reached out my first degree, my second degree connections. They were already really prominent figures. And then I was really reaching out just with a cold email. Just say, hey, I wanted to do this because I feel like more and more people are being laid off, and then some people don't have a choice; they gotta pivot their careers. So your trajectory is really inspiring. So I think people would be interested to hear about your views on the current kind of economy, on the HR strategies, and your own personal growth as well, right? So I specifically targeted those people who had been whether it's 0 to 1, it's 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000. They have skilled organizations. It doesn't have to be in tech. In fact, my next week's guest is actually from LVMH, the largest luxury hotel group, right? So and then it doesn't have to be HR because some leaders then they are hiring their own teams. They're actually scaling from their subject matter point of view. So I began reaching out just to them. I was really overwhelmed with the amount of support, and then people were like, yes, interested. Let's do this, right? And I get to kind of refine the angles, how the format is going along the way. But I would say when I run out of my connections, I have to start reaching out to people like in OpenAI or people like really Nvidia these days, right? Or just like I don't know them, right? It's a completely cold emailing that a lot of people would block me, and then and then I started to refine my message to say, hey, this is not an advertisement. I'm not asking you for money, right? So I have to go through this, right? And I think, even though, some of the guests that we will see today are very prominent, influential figures, but behind all that, right, when you're pitching your ideas, it's a little bit like fundraising. It's a little bit like, recruiting, like scouting, right? Talents. You got tons of rejections, and then people are just mistaking you for some scammer. But I think it's part of the journey, right? You got you have a laugh and you go on. So, but I think throughout the journey, I also received some interesting feedback as well. In fact, yesterday I received the feedback, right? That I was reaching out to this Forbes 30 under 30 female CEO in the US. She was when I reached out, she was, hey, I'm really interested to do this, but I'll give you some advice in your pitch email, right? In your scouting emails. It can be shorter, you put your personal touch into it, and then don't throw everything out. So I think it's also interesting along the way, right? Even though you receive rejections, you're receiving some advice that you can, immediately refine and then make it more effective. So again, right back to the point, I just feel like this entire creation journey is just a fantastic vehicle, right, to learn new things, and then to challenge yourself to the other domains that you're not familiar with previously. Yeah.
Right, nice. I guess part and parcel of being a recruiter is sending out 1,000 emails and probably not getting much hit rates, and then kind of like you kind of build the resilience from there as well. Um, yeah. So in terms of I think in terms of just next steps for you, just getting future plans out there. Any plans for the book, a new book maybe, or even any other kind of different kinds of programs?
Yeah. So I am doing an audiobook. I actually launched that campaign, and then I had the it's like American Idol, right? You have you just I mean, first of all, I really got to thank all these platforms today online that you just got to do all of these for free. That you just post your own thing, and then people would just like apply, right? And then they will, hey, audition for a narrator job, all that, right? Thankfully, there's Amazon, there's many other stuff, Spotify, all those things. So I tried that route because I wanted to turn it into an audiobook. But after a while, I didn't find like a suitable voice. So I decided to do it myself. So I am down to the chapter 7 now. I think I should be finished in 2 weeks. So I'm launching an audiobook as well. If you're interested, so I know the statistic in the States, right? 40% Americans actually, read audiobook, prefer audiobook rather than kind of paperback. So I think it's a good way. It's going to be launched in Spotify, in many other channels like Amazon Audible, ACX, and all these things that you can listen to my voice as well if you find that interesting. Um, yeah, so that is number one. I would say probably end of the this month it will be a launch. I will do a little bit shout out on LinkedIn as well as my newsletter. And then the second is that I'm going to continuously, right, building up this video series. I have already a lot of great interviews gathered, that I have a calendar plan out. But at the same time, for whoever is interested to be on my show, I'm not trying to do this full time, but I just feel like it's a meaningful initiative, right? And it's just like every 2 weeks, I spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes to do an interview, or like 30 minutes to edit, and then I publish it. And then it can have benefit, right? For whoever is reading it, that would be great. It's a good initiative, right? So I think I will continuously doing this, even if after I get like a full-time job, I'm like day job. I think I will continue doing this. Yeah. Lastly, I'm gonna do some offline book reading as well. Book launch. One of it, I'm going to New York to visit some friends. So obviously I spend a lot of time in NYC. And then the channel I selected is Barnes and Noble in Union Square. So next month, the first Saturday of July, if you're free, or if you're in New York City, feel free to check me out. I'm gonna send out some of the posters. You're gonna see Barney's BNN. They're gonna have their website link up soon as well. So yeah, so this is kind of what I'm doing. I don't have any plan for the second book. I don't have an idea, but I wouldn't say no to it. Because to be honest, I enjoyed this journey so far. Yeah.
Right, awesome. Thanks so much, Jerry. I think we've got a couple of interesting comments as we were going through the sharing. So, like, we've got Dan Zhao who said that I think previously when you were sharing about your disability writing tip, she's also writing a book for with one of the team members and kind of find it difficult to finish, and procrastination takes over. I think we're all guilty of that as writers. Yeah, so Robert as well, congrats on the launch. Do you have plans to do workshops, seminars for companies, or do speaking roadshows to promote your book? Jerry,
Oh
I
yeah.
think you're the best person to answer
So
that.
yeah. That so the robber comment. Actually, there are. Another thing of doing this is that there are actually a few people reached out to me on LinkedIn for speaking events, including TED. So I am still like planning out my schedules and everything. But that's another perks, right? For whoever is interested to do such a thing, that later on, it's not just sponsorship, right? They would reach out to you, and then some of the things I think it's in Latin America. Yeah, so quite interesting. I will consider it. Yeah, I think why not? And then to Dan, I'm interested to hear about Ray's thoughts on this as well, right? How did you, commit to writing, and then what was your inspiration, and then what was your routine? But for Dan, I think whether you do yoga or not, right? At the end of the day, I feel like everybody is different, right? But it's really key to find what works for you. So for me, it's a scheduled routine, and I know for some other people, it's just that they go with the flow. When the creativity comes, then they were just like, okay, I don't sleep, I don't eat, I'm just gonna be on the desk and writing all day long. And when it doesn't happen, they just go into depression or something, right? So I think you need to find your germ, whatever works for you, and then you commit to it, right? So that's my key. But I'm keen to hear from Ray. Ray been writing a lot of interesting stuff on Medium as well. I enjoyed your writing as well. What was your secret?
Right. Thanks, Jerry, for this support. For me, I'm kind of more like the latter that you mentioned. It's really go with the flow. Kind of ties in how I work as well. Like during interviews, I've got like some scripted questions, but I usually just go with whichever works on the session. I do have a little routine that I follow. There's usually Saturday morning, first half of the day, which I hop on to my morning gym, and then I will head to a nearby cafe for a couple of hours to just wrap up my week. Because usually on Friday afternoons, I'm just a little bit more drained to just wrap up on things. So I usually use the first hour of Saturday to just catch up on work, just wrap up for the week. And from there, I kind of also have some time to just think about, doing a little bit of small reflection over the week, what I did, what went well, what didn't go so well, and of course, with that tying into some of my writing. It's just really for fun because, like, I think at the moment with the whole climate that's going around, I think a lot of people are just looking for inspiration here and there. So like I think it's just really cool to just share a little bit about what we do from the HR function, from the TA function. So yeah, for me it's really more like 20% when I just feel like writing, I write. 80% of the time is just mostly procrastination. So like yeah, I strive to kind of like write every once a week or just post something once or twice a week. But like it kind of went down from there. I haven't been posting stuff for 2 to 3
I
weeks.
have a
So
question, Ray. So do you
yeah.
also find that helps with your work? Because I know you mentioned you started writing about your own journey because it was mostly for employer branding purposes, and you get candidates asking, right? Hey, what's it like to work at startup? So you think, hey, I'm just gonna write about it, so you can read about it. Yeah, any interesting thoughts or things that you've learned helped your work as well?
Yeah, I think just a couple of things like I think just to really train my own clarity of putting thoughts into words. I can definitely concur with you on the part that TA as recruiters we write so much every day, especially for my role right now it's remote working. So like if I'm not on Zoom meetings, it's just a lot of async stuff. So how can we, communicate more effectively with all this writing? So I think that's one part. I think another part is really to, as I write and kind of reflect on, my startup journey so far, it also helped me solidify some interesting thoughts that I could share during interview with candidates. Some of them will be really curious about how, things that they've heard about startup, those myths, and whatnot that they heard from friends. Is it true coming from a recruiter perspective? Kind of usually share it. And of course, with this writing project, they can read it on their own. So I think there's just a couple of things that I've found that's been useful. I think with just writing, especially with something that you just kind of do it for fun. It's a lot more enjoyable than bashing yourself for not writing in 1 week or 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's great. Good to know.
Yeah.
Cool, Ray. I think we are all good. And I
Yeah.
think we're out of time. Any last questions? Maybe we'll skip on the chapter reading today. Read it yourself. If you're online. And then, like I mentioned, right? So we will be able to see all the attendees later on. So we'll send that promotion link to you individually on LinkedIn. But Ray, any questions? Any comments?
Yeah, I think not much on my end. I think we've got a couple of interesting comments and people interested for you to do workshops and seminars. So I think that's definitely great for you. So feel free to reach out to Jerry if you have any questions about just doing a session with him, just to exchange ideas, or even like catching up with Jerry in July in New York. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to us this morning.
Thank you so much, Ray, for your time. Bye.
Right, catch you guys soon. Take care, Jerry. Bye.